Okay. Okay, I think people will jump in, but we can start. So hello everyone. It's so nice to see so many of you here today. My name is Tia. I work as an account manager here at impact agency Fabric, and I'm honored to work as your host today in this webinar. So warm welcome to all of you. You may or may not have heard about B Corp movement or certification, but we are here today to learn more about it and why it is a great tool for developing a corporate responsibility. This webinar is a part of a global B Corp month. And why we as Fabric are organizing it, it's because we believe in this movement. And I'm sure that by the end of this webinar, you will all have the clear answer that why we are interested and why we believe in it and why thousands of other companies all over the world are B Corp certified. Also, before we go to the actual agenda of today, I'm proud and we are proud to announce that this month Fabric certified as a 4th B Corp company in Finland. And also last week we had the honor to have our second qualified B leader in our company. So it's a great timing for also this webinar. So now let's go to the agenda of today. And here it is. So we have 3 speakers today. First up is our CEO, Perttu, and he will talk about why Fabric has chosen B Corp as a strategic tool and why Finnish companies should get interested in it. And then second up, we have Henrika Peltola from Danone, and she will talk about the B impact assessment as a tool. And then finally, we have our friend from Netherlands, Dieuwertje Damen from Rainbow Collection, and she will then talk more like holistically about the movement and a little bit about its history. And maybe you can all say hi now. You can all see their pictures there, but a brief.
Moikka kaikille.
Moi.
Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all.
Nice. So welcome to all of you. And then finally, we have 15 minutes or so for questions and answers. So I recommend you to put questions in the chat box, and then we can answer them by the end of this webinar. One last thing before I let Perttu on the stage is a next webinar that we are hosting in 12th of May. And if I can have the next one, this one here. So the keynote speaker, the encourager of the event is an internationally known Mr. Advertising author, activist, and a man who has helped hundreds of companies and brands on their sustainability journey. So Mr. Thomas Kolster. And we will send the invitation to this event after this webinar. So you will have a link in your emails. So now let's go to the actual agenda. And Perttu, the first question is for you. So tell us why Fabric got interested and why we chose B Corp as a strategic tool, and why Finnish companies should also be interested in it.
Yeah, thanks, Tia. Hello, everyone. The answer is very simple. We have to change because the capacity of our planet cannot take it anymore. It's so simple. We don't have a planet B, so the can't be a plan B also. And our company's history has been an advertising agency. We have always been here about helping businesses succeed. But what is succeed? What is success? Is our goal achieved when someone is the best in the world, or when someone is best for the world? And as the leader of B Corp company today, I believe that we must be the change we seek in the world. We understand that we are not heroes here, but we are not only promising or even committing to change, we already acting. And that is what our B Corp certification is all about. Years ago, we realized that purpose-driven storytelling really matter, but we need to take a stronger and faster impact. And I believe that then, and I believe that now, that businesses and their customers are the key to a sustainable future. B Corp talks about businesses as force for good, and Fabric has heard the same vision in slightly different words for a long time. And when we met about years ago, when we met the B Corp, we were very inspired. Finally, we find a real community and international standards for sustainability. At B Corp, we start with the growth and development of businesses to bring about the change we need. It is not enough to reduce emissions within an exciting businesses. If you turned off the power, you don't pollute, but you also don't innovate anything. And important benefits it's a concrete tools that have been tested. And even if a company does not achieve certification, it is estimated that we can use the tool and associated increase in skills and understanding that will give participating companies about 5 to 10 year head start to over the competitors. So the development of their own impact business model and process will be guided by future legislation. So it's very safe strategy. It's very it's not hard anymore. And for years, discussions have already been taking place with the companies how to start developing businesses sustainability. There is a lot of hard work behind corporate success, but everybody often hear that success is also requires luck. A game of luck doesn't sound very good. Since we are not a Lady Fortuna, it is wise to look to the future and what the world needs and what our stakeholders expect from us. It's also easier to communicate when we really know what people need us and we don't and our legacy, our history to be an advertising agency, we can communicate better and help our customers better without fear of greenwashing. So that is the very easy answer. It's our strategy here in Fabric. It means we're doing everything. We're seeing everything between B Corp. So I encourage everyone on this journey to start today, because Finland is one of the B Corp priority countries this year. This is a huge opportunity to us. And I'm so grateful and excited because this trip will be open for us by our fine guest today, Henrika and Dieu. I hope that this is wonderful hour, and I'm ready to learn a lot of new things. So thanks. This is my part. This is our story today.
Thank you, Perttu.
Thanks.
And then again, I remind you to send questions to the chat, and then we can come back to them afterwards. So, Henrika, welcome. Welcome to this webinar. So I have a question for you. Why is it, and what makes B Corp such a great tool for companies to manage their sustainability?
Thanks for the question and thanks for inviting me. I hope you can all see my screen. I tried to really swiftly start sharing. Yeah, so thanks for the invitation. I will be answering that question during my slides. So hi everyone, I'm Henrika. I am working as a sustainability specialist for Danone Nordics and Baltics, and I will be indeed speaking about how B Corp is and can be used as a measurement tool. And my agenda is actually quite short, only 2 points. So first, I will speak a bit about Danone. So what company is it that I am representing today? And then we will jump right into the topic of B Corp as sustainability management tool. So please feel free to write questions in the chat during the presentation. I will get back to them in the end, or if I will run out of time, then I will be answering you by writing. I'm speaking quite fast, but don't worry about it. I think we will be able to make it in 15 minutes. So let's start with the basics, looking at Danone at a glance. So Danone is a global food and beverages company with a mission to bring health through food to as many people as possible. I don't know if all of you are familiar with the company, but I chose to this slide some of the products that are sold in Finland and in the Nordic markets. So most of you probably recognize Danone from the dairy products like Activia, Actimel, Danab, Danonino, but we also have quite a wide portfolio of brands, plant-based brands under Alpra. Then we have the specialized nutrition section, which is products that are sold in pharmacies and directly to the hospitals. And then we have waters and beverages. We have a Danish water brand Aquador, and then a Swedish brand Proviva, which is juices with added bacteria. We also own the Proviva factory, which is in the south of Sweden. And in the Nordics and Baltics region, we have approximately 500 employees. I'm located in Helsinki, and currently we have around 100,000 employees globally, and the products are sold in around 120 countries, which means that we are speaking about quite big international company. And then how is Danone, how is this big company connected to B Corp? So we have actually 9 different company goals, which are all connected to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And one of the company goals is to be B Corp certified globally in all the different business units by 2025. And we want to achieve the full B Corp certification as a mark of trust, because we see that now in the current world, people need to be able to trust the brands and trust the companies that they buy from. We also see that when we will achieve the B Corp certification fully, we are part of the force pushing to bring sustainable business into the mainstream. And now the situation is that we have around 70% of our global businesses already covered by the certification. So we are quite well on the way of achieving the 100% by 2025. And then if we look at the entities that I'm speaking of, so Danone in Nordics and Baltics, we have been B Corp certified in the Nordics since January 2022. around 1 year now. And when I'm saying Nordics, I mean fully in Finland, fully in Sweden, including the factory in south of Sweden, and fully in Norway. I have here a great picture of our Finnish team from last summer. And then we are now in progress with our Danone Baltics and Denmark. So we are in the certification process, and we hope to be B Corp certified still this year. So somewhere around Q3 2023, if everything goes well and if the timeline hits. So really well on our way of achieving the full certification in Danone, Nordics and Baltics. And now when we have the basis covered, I would like to jump into the actual B Corp as a management tool aspect. So if we start from the basis, so in order to become B Corp certified, you need to have 3 things in place. First is performance requirement, second is legal commitment, and third one is transparency. And I will be focusing on the first one, which is the performance requirement, because this is exactly how the aspect of sustainability tool is connected to the presentation. So when you, as a company or as an organization, want to get B Corp certified, you go to the website, B Impact Assessment Tool, which is free, and you create your company there according to the size, industry, country you are located, and all of that. And it's free. And then the tool creates you an assessment of around 200, 250 questions. And then you start to fill it according to what is true in your organization. And when you fill up the different questions, you get points. So in order to be B Corp certified, you need to reach 80 points, which actually is not so easy. And you get points from good policies and practices that you have in place. So basically, you need to prove that you are good enough and you do good things in order to become B Corp certified. And this is kind of like the first aspect of the tool on where it comes handy. So when you fill up the assessment for the first time, you can see immediately that these are the aspects where we are really good. This is where we have already worked on. And these are the aspects that we didn't even think about before or we haven't worked on. And you can basically see your strengths and weaknesses. So really, after the first assessment, you can already have this holistic overview of the company. Then the second part is when you become B Corp certified. So when you start to fill the assessment, you submit and you become B Corp certified, you need to recertify every 3 years. So it's not only that you get the assessment, you get kind of like the overarching picture of how your company is doing, but you also commit into this recertification. So it really gives you the tool to measure, manage, and then improve your impact. Because when you see that here we are not so good, it really also gives you the answer option. So you can right away see, okay, here we are not good, but if we would do this, this, and that, it would already improve our impact. So it guides you with small steps into like better practices, better policies in your company. And then it's interesting, of course, to look at the tool itself, so the B Impact Assessment. So when you start to fill it, it consists of 5 different areas. So it's governance, workers, meaning employees, environment, community, and customers. And usually when companies speak about sustainability or sustainability strategies, they mean like the environmental aspects or environment and maybe a bit of social aspects like human rights, but it's really limited. So as you can see that with the B Impact Assessment, it looks at the whole company, all of the different aspects. So it really gives you much wider umbrella of your actions. And it really gives you an overview of, instead of some singular actions here, singular actions there, this and that, it gives you an overview of all that you are doing and all that you can improve. So here I would really like to link this with the other functions. So I think no one in the call would make financial or marketing decisions and strategies without data. And so I don't think that we should make sustainability strategies or sustainability decisions without consistent data. So this is really a great tool to get a holistic overview and to measure your whole impact as a company, not just some areas. And then how have we used it at Danone? So previously, Danone sustainability strategy was divided under One Planet, One Health umbrella, and then we had some actions under different topics, but it was a bit limited on these. But now with B Corp and with enterprise mission in the middle, we are going towards this Danone impact journey. So really taking into account more aspects. So in this impact journey, we have health, nature, and people and communities. So really widening the how we measure sustainability and what kind of KPIs we have in different areas, and really bringing this impact mindset and impact thinking into the core of the business. And then my last slide. So what are we doing with Nordics and Baltics? So as I was speaking, it's as a sustainable measurement tool. It's great, and that's how we are also using it locally. So we can benchmark our local KPIs, local sustainability roadmaps, local plans with it. But also what I see as a great benefit, so beyond this sustainability measurement tool, it's also a great driver of team engagement and employer branding. I don't think that sustainability itself should be done something separately from the business, done by one function or only by sustainability managers. It's something that all the employees in the company can do. And how I have seen it in our organization is that when we take everyone into this journey, most of the people are really proud about us being a B Corp, and it's a great internal driver of creating something new and pushing our company for better. And then besides this sustainability measurement tool and besides this engagement, I also want to throw a bit of a call of action here, because we can also use it externally, but this needs work from multiple actors, since we need the external world kind of know about B Corp, but we have there, but after that is done, we have great possibilities to partner together. We can educate consumers, we can speak about the certification, because it's really a great tool, but also a really great mark of trust when you have it, because it requires a lot, and it's third-party audited. So it's not only we are saying that we do this and that, but it really shows that we actually are committed to improving our impact every 3 years, or actually all the time. And we are in this journey from here to infinity, let's say. So really, if you are considering, or if you are filling the assessment now and considering should you become a B Corp or not, I would say yes, let's do it. And I would conclude that for us, it has been really useful tool, but also great in terms of all the other aspects like engagement and that too. So yes, thank you. I hope that you get something out of that presentation.
Thank you, Henrika. It was really great speech, and I think we at Fabric can also agree on all of the points that you just said. And we are good in time as well, so good job. So Dieuwertje, welcome. Welcome to our webinar. And I hope that now that we have learned a lot about the tool itself and how it can be used, you could maybe open up a little bit more about B Corp's history and why it is so well known and spreading all the time to a lot of companies in Europe and in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for your introduction and your experiences as well, Berto and Henrika, about how you've sort of experienced the movement so far. Just a little bit of background about who we are, because I'm really happy to share with you a bit more about the bigger picture of how B Corp came into existence and how it has grown and what it also can mean to you beyond your sort of impact improvement or beyond the tool itself. But yeah, just to dive into this a little bit as well, because as Rainbow Collection, we have become B Corp certified in 2016. It was in the beginning when B Corp just came to Europe, because it started in the US in 2006. And for us back then, it was really a nice community to be part of. As Rainbow Collection, we help organizations to develop their impact strategies and to actually do what B Corp also stands for, to help companies improve and to understand what making an impact or ESG or sustainability means to them as an organization, and how you can make that actually land within your organizations. And well, in the beginning, B Corp was for us really a movement. It was a nice platform, and there were like-minded brands and like-minded people who we could meet there. But at some point, B Corp was growing in the Netherlands. We were based in Amsterdam. It was growing, and some of our customers came to us and said, "Hey, you're also a B Corp, right? Don't you think there could be something interesting for us? And can you maybe help us with going through the certification and make sure that we are well, going to become B Corp and get more than these 80 points?" So, and then at that point we started thinking, okay, maybe this tool could be an interesting tool for us as well, not for ourselves, but to help others improve. And that is now what we're doing for 2 years, I guess, for over 40 companies, mainly in the Netherlands, but also in Belgium, in Germany, in, well, Finland. So this is really something we we believe in the tool as a framework for impact, and I mean, B Corp isn't the only tool out there, right? There are other B Corp tools.
The slides are not changing. I don't know if you.
Okay, I'm still in my question.
Sorry.
No, so what I was trying to say. There are other B Corp, there are other sustainability tools out there as well. But for us, B Corp really stands out because of what you were saying, Henrika. It is so much broader. It doesn't look at a product itself. It really looks at the wider organization. And I think that's really what makes it really interesting. And I'll dive a little bit into that in a bit as well. But just to briefly start with where it came from, because it is a global movement. It's growing really fast, although there's still only about 6,000 B Corps worldwide, I think. It is growing really fast. And but where did it start? So in 2006, there were 3 guys who owned their own apparel agency. And this apparel agency was set up 50 years before that, based on sustainable principles. So they used sustainable materials for their products. They looked at human rights in their supply chain. They invested in the health and vitality of their people in the offices. So they were really they were a sustainable business. And at some point they sold their company to an investment agency. And after a year, they found out that in that sort of time span, all those sustainability principles were being thrown overboard. So the company they have been building for years based on these ethical principles was just down the drain, and they were so devastated that they thought, how can we make sure that this doesn't happen again? How can we make sure that being an ethical or sustainable company is something that is actually integrated within the company? So when a company is being sold or other executives come in, how can we make sure that this sort of DNA, this sustainable DNA is still there? And that's when they came up with the second requirement that Henrika was referring to, making the legal change. So if you want to become a B Corp, you must change the company documents, the statutes, in which you actually say, okay, I am a for-profit company. I'm doing good business, but while doing that, I'm using my business as a force for good to actually also take into account my stakeholders. And the stakeholders are the society, my employees, the environment, communities, and that is really the foundation of what B Corp is. So yeah, I just wanted to share this story with you because I think this is really the core of what also other frameworks don't really have, this whole legal change and this sort of firm belief in that you have to use your entire company to create impact. And that's what the community is about. So as what Henrika said, what Bertu said, if it's broke, fix it. We are the system, the economic system that we are in today, isn't working for us and we need to change it. And businesses are the perfect platforms and organizations who can help change this system in a very positive way. I think that's also really important to mention about the B Corp community because it's a really, although there is a framework with, I don't know, over 300 questions and you have to reach all those points and you have to be, that's really evidence-based. So you need to show the impact that you're actually making today. It's not about beautiful plans on paper, it's about actual impact. In addition to that, it is a very positive, enthusiastic community, and I think that's really good to emphasize. It's people are collaborating together. They all are true believers in that we can make this change as long as we, as we work together and we look at how we can use our business. But to briefly show you a little bit about what this movement looks like today. So there's today 6,500 B Corps globally, and this is counting because I put this on this slide last week. Probably it's already, I don't know, 10 more. It's really growing very rapidly in 80 countries, so it's really all over the world. In Europe, there's now more than 1,000 or 1,100 B Corps actually, and Benelux is maybe one of the fastest growing areas in the Benelux, but I know, I don't know if someone from B-Lab Nordics is listening in as well, but I think that the Nordics is really one of the areas that they also foresee this growth happening in the next years. So it is really growing very, very rapidly, and I think the most interesting thing about this whole movement and why this B Corp community is also more interesting for a much wider range of companies is that while decades ago we really looked at a sustainable product. So a coffee could be fair trade certified, for example, or a furniture could be FSC certified. It really looked at a supply chain. But what about all those companies who don't make an actual product, companies that design websites, companies that I don't know, are in consultancy. What about law firms? There's so many organizations that also make an impact and make a change beyond an international supply chain that actually has ingredients or raw materials. So, I mean, in addition to those companies that are that do have that and for which it's still interesting, there is a whole other group of companies that is now also part of this community. So, and I think that's that really makes this whole movement so interesting and holistic. So I think that's something you should also take into account if you're listening in and you think, but I don't make t-shirts, I don't make yogurts, and you can also, I think, of the group of organizations that we are helping to become B Corp certified, I think 50% doesn't have a product. So it's really also there for you. You can show with the customers that you cater that you are making impact. You can show that you are really investing in your employees and making impact with that. So it's really a broad system, and you don't need to get points on all the topics that Henrika just showed. You can really sort of show, okay, in these areas I am the most developed. This is where I can make the most impact. So that's what making it really interesting. But so at some point you have become B Corp. You are somewhere above the 80 points. That's really great. And how can you then have what else is there in this whole movement or in this community? And I just want to share a few examples with you. I think we have a few more minutes. That could sort of maybe make it also interesting for you to say yes and go for the B Corp certification. I think one interesting thing is that within the B Corp movement, there are several coalitions. So those are groups of B Corp, certified B Corp organizations who actually work together on specific areas where they make an impact or where they can find each other. So there's, for example, the Beauty Coalition that has all types of organizations who are in the cosmetics industry, who share experiences together, who learn from each other, who really look at, okay, how can we as B Corp beauty or cosmetic agencies drive our industry and make a change there. So that's really interesting. You're not on your own. And there are always groups of organizations. There's also a group of law firms who are together and look at, hey, how can we make a bigger change together? That's really interesting. Then collaborations between organizations that don't really have much in common as an industry like the Beauty Coalition, but more feel like, hey, we can do things together. So, for example, Rainbow Collection and a few other Amsterdam-based B Corps are designing and building a diversity, equity, and inclusion game for organizations. Really has nothing to do with our core business, but it's really because we feel, hey, there is a need for this. Let's dive into this and make this game together. And I also know that there's collaborations between fashion brands and furniture labels who also design new circular collections together. So there's all these really interesting, enthusiastic collaborations between B Corps, which is really, something that could be valuable for you as well, I think. Then from a new business perspective, there are some of the larger retailers in the world are also starting to acknowledge that there's a big group of B Corp certified brands that they also can sort of display in their shops, whether these are offline or online, and they just put all the B Corp products together, so you can actually make a voice together. So I know that Waitrose in the UK is doing this. Here you see Ocado. I know, Albert Heijn, which is the biggest retailer in the Netherlands, is doing this. So they're actually portraying, and you can sort of look at B Corp, and you get all the B Corp products that these retailers are selling. So these type of things are also really happening and developing, and it's just also good business for you. Then what is also happening in the B Corp movement is that you see that investors and financial institutions are looking at B Corp as a way to sort of benchmark the ESG or sustainability level of organizations. So you see the ABN AMRO bank, which is a local Dutch bank, but they're one of the biggest banks in the Netherlands, actually. They really are looking into B Corp, like, hey, can this be our sort of framework as well? That we say, okay, if you're a sustainable company, you can get a discount on specific financial products. And then if you are a B Corp, then you don't have to go through their whole assessment. It's just, okay, you can go through. There are investors who give a discount on their loans as well to organizations that become B Corp. So we really see the financial world also looking at B Corp as a framework and as a benchmark. And then a final example is, maybe you know Soku, maybe Soku is listening in, I don't know, but Soku is a boutique hotel and community brands who have hotels and communities already in a few places, also in Copenhagen, but also in Amsterdam, and they have become B Corp as well. And for them, sort of the most interesting effect that their B Corp certification had is actually a little bit in line with what Henrika also said, is that people are just, they want to work for B Corp certified organizations. They really, well, our contact person at SOCO in the Netherlands really said we could just cut our recruitment budget by half because of our B Corp certification. Because people just look at the directory. There's a whole list online with all the B Corps, so you can go to, okay, tell me what the B Corps in Finland are, and then you will get this list, and then people would look at those companies for their new job. So people are just so enthusiastic about this whole movement, and I think that is actually what I tried to say in the beginning. Like you can become B Corp, hey, you can get this label, but in the end, you become part of a family, really part of a group of organizations with so much positive energy and so much, energy to work together and to make things better and to learn and to make mistakes. That's all okay, but that is really for me and for also for Rainbow Collection. What is the difference between B Corp certification or certificate and those other certificates like ISO 14001 or those are, I mean, they're also very good systems, but this has some sort of extra energy to it that gives people, just the sort of idea like, I want to be part of this. And I think that's what we really need, because sustainability is, it can be very practical and technical, but it can also be fun. And I think that's what is needed in this world to actually drive and accelerate the change we need to see in the world, to get back to Bertu's introduction. So I think this is what I wanted to share with you about the B Corp movement.
Thank you. It was really a holistic view, and I think now everyone who are like thinking about that, why, like, if B Corp is only for like B2C companies, I think this proved that fact wrong, that it's also for B2B companies and a lot more. So thank you. So we got a few questions beforehand, and there is still time to pop up some new ones. But I will start for Henrika first. There was a question that how can you engage your workers to the process, and what has been the most impactful way in your company?
This is actually a good question. So for a company in the size of us, so when we are going through the certification process, we already need people from different teams to answer the different questions. So I have HR, finance, logistics, environment managers or facility managers, all of them. And then while we go through the assessment, we already see kind of like, okay, here is something that we should improve. Is it something that we can improve like fast, kind of like this year? Or is it something that we should raise to the priority list and improve in long term? So this is one type of how we engage in the process. But then if we speak about engagement not in the process, so the most important thing is starting with the education. So for all the people to understand what is it and what does it mean for our organization. So we internally have e-learning on B Corp from Danone level. So that's mandatory for all the employees that start, but we also promote it for employees that already work at our region. And then we are in all the town halls speaking about B Corp. Whenever we have some company events, we speak about B Corp, and then we try to include it kind of like in all the work and in all the comms that we do, so that it's not a separate part of the company, but it's really everywhere, because it is like when we go through the certification, it's not adding something on the top, but it's really showing what we are already doing and where we are good. So it was a long answer, but I hope you got the point.
No, I think it was a good answer. It was a clear vision of how you work it, and it's also, I think, a good example like how can you do it in a big company, because obviously there are companies of all sizes, and it can be very different in a company of 5 or a company at size of Danone. So I think it's a good example that you gave there. So then next question, I think it's all of you, and you can choose who starts and who's next. There is a question that how can I start to complete the certification? What is the first step? And I think I will actually add one more question that came also is related to this. So how can I start? And then there was another question that is it possible to certificate without the help of B-Leader? So I will combine those two questions. So you can start maybe you first.
Well, about first question, how do I start? How do I complete? I think it's always good to do a sort of baseline first. So you can go to the portal after this session. For example, you just go to it, you make an account, you fill in some company details. Within 3 minutes, you have your B Corp, your own BIA, so the business impact assessment, that's what they call it. And I think it's good to always start with a baseline. During this baseline, you fill in, as Henrika said, you actually have to make a group of people within the organization that together can answer these questions. And indeed, they are in finance, marketing, product development, or no, the sort of group that Henrika actually summarized already. So get that group of 5-6 people together, fill in the BIA, the impact assessment, and look at, okay, what are the things that we are already doing quite well? So you can just check that off your list. Then there is a whole list of topics that you might do already, but you don't have make that very explicit. There's in all organizations there's very implicit processes and policies, but you have to make that explicit and be able to prove that as well. And then and those could be quick wins. And then there are the bigger projects that you want to set up, because those projects are more strategic to your organization. Those are the projects that can actually really help you to improve your impact position, so to say. And you really need those bigger projects to get to that. Well, I would always say go aim for at least 90 points when you start handing in the assessment, because there are always going to be a few points taking off your score. So, but those bigger projects are really interesting, because those are the projects that probably are most impactful to your organization and could also take a bit longer. So if you have a sort of division of these 3 elements, then you can make a plan and you can look at, okay, what do we have here? You know, where do we stand? Are we at 50 points or 70 already? So I think that's really nice. But then there's one other thing, before I let the others speak. What I would really advise you to do is put on a very strategic lens looking at those projects. Because if you go through that list of 300 questions, at the end of the day, you could just make a list and go do it, and then spend 2 years of your time just answering all those questions. And that is not really how it works. You should really look at it from a perspective of, okay, is this something that I can make impact with? Is this something that is closely related to my core business, to my product or my service? Is it related to the way that I look at the world? Is it important for my employees? You have to sort of ask yourself these questions and then come up with a list of, okay, then these are the quick wins and these are the bigger projects, and then make sure that you assign people to it. Because if you just, let them flow, then it's not going to happen. But I would always use that strategic lens to it. Otherwise, it's going to be a very lengthy process.
Mm-hmm. So, conclusion, you would say that it's smart to maybe use an external person to recognize those projects, or go through the assessment by itself.
Yeah, I think it depends on the way you're organized right now. I mean, external people can always help to be sort of challenging, right? So they could be coaching and challenging, but I think you could do it yourself as well if you are, if you have a good team and if you have the time to really go through these steps. I think you could definitely do that yourself. external people can just help to make it sometimes a bit more concrete, and especially maybe in the phase afterwards when you want to embark on a few of those bigger projects, maybe then invite people to actually, if you say, okay, I want to measure my carbon footprint and have a reduction strategy on carbon. Maybe that's something you don't have within your company. If you look at, okay, I want to have my whole collection that I've added, my whole collection that I make more sustainable and work with sustainable materials. Yeah, maybe that's something that you could use external help with. But yeah, it could go for both ways.
Good question, answer. So then, Henrika, do you have something to add on?
I mean, what to add after that? But yeah, I echo. So I think the first part you can definitely do yourself. So seeing where you are concretely, filling the assessment for the first time. But then depending on your organization and what gaps do you have, then you need to think, okay, can we do this by ourselves? Can we do these improvements by ourselves? Or do we need external help? So you can start by yourself. And depending where you land, then you can think about your options.
I think that the first thing you need to do is just wake up. Ask yourself 2 questions. Do I know the impact of our business? And do I know what our stakeholders expect from us? And if you can't answer that very simple questions, you have to do something. And then you can do just what Dieu said. It's very concrete, and the B Corp tool, impact assessment tool, is very concrete and very helpful. But the first of all, ask yourself 2 simple questions. Wake up, then you can grow up and improve your operations and improve your processes. And third, you can take advantage of it. You can show up how good you are.
Good. That's a good answer, though. So then we have next question for Dieuwertje. So what has been most impactful project for Rainbow Collection? Can you name one?
Most impactful project. Well, I think if I explain this in a B Corp setting, right? There are a few. Well, just a little bit of background within the B Corp assessment. There's 2 types of questions. There are operational questions and there are impact business model questions. And the operational questions are questions that have to do with your day-to-day sustainable actions and decisions. So these could be about measuring your carbon footprint. It could be about the way your employee and HR policies, really sort of the basic sustainable things that actually every company could do, but you also do them, but they don't really say something about your product or about your service. The IBM questions are about your business model and the way you make impact with your product or service. And for me, the most interesting and impactful projects were those where we were actually able to help an organization develop an IBM, so an impact business model, because that's what really makes you different. So we worked with a coffee brand who actually changed the way they changed their payment model, the way from mainstream to a fair trade model. We worked with an organization, a farm who actually started changing the way they develop their products. They grown their products. So those projects for me are the most impactful because you can actually say, okay, we've changed a product and we've changed a business model, and not, okay, we set up a nice sustainable travel policy. You know, that for me that's really different. So those for me were the most impactful projects.
Sounds good. And that's also the benefit of this whole B Corp, then you can actually find those new models and ways to make business. So it's not only an investment, but it's something that you can grow on and find out new ways and grow your business. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, in a way, innovation tool. Yeah.
And I hope that because you are also our coach and Rainbow Collection is our partner, so perhaps someday you can answer that kind of questions that the fabric is your because we are very serious and we're working very hard to bring Finnish companies into the movement.
For me, it's interesting to explain a little bit about your IBM, because the IBMs are not only about products again, but also about services. So, for example, Fabriek's IBM and also Rainbow Collection's IBM is about, okay, how can we help other companies to make more impact? So how can we advise other companies in going on this journey, determining where they make the biggest impact and how you can actually help them on their way? And that's something that you are doing, Fabriek, and I think that is something I'm really proud of.
Yeah. Today we have two B leaders, Jonna and Timo, and we are better and better every day that we can help our customers to find their strategy and how they can make their own sustainable strategy or impact business model, and also how they can communicate it, how they can make their marketing and communications at all that the Finnish companies can grow up and we can change. We can, like we say, that shifting business for good. It's very inspiring vision, and I'm very happy that if somebody wants to talk to me. This is opinion, but yeah, we are like here in Finland. We have only. Am I right if I said that only 5 to 7 P leaders?
Something around that, under 10.
Yeah, and two of them working with us. So I really hope that we can be a big part of this movement.
I hope so too. So now in this point, I need to say that we have 2 more minutes before time is up. So one more question and then super fast answers. There was a question if any company or industry can apply for B Corp. And then another question that if there is something that you see as a bad company, and it's kind of also related to that if any company has the opportunity to apply for the certification. So now like 2 sentences and then
I can start. So there are different rules on who can apply and who not. So for example, if you are in monopoly position, you are not able to apply. So for example, in Finland, Alko or VR, not applicable because of the position in the market. And then there are some rules depending on the industry. So if you are a company which is selling firearms, for example, then you cannot apply for B Corp certification. So basically, yes, there are rules. And then there was a question on who would be a bad company. So I would not name anything, but maybe I would not work for a firearms industry. So that would be my answer.
Yes. Yeah, I don't really have something to add. There is actually a whole, there's 5 elements in the B Corp question that you have to answer that you can get points for. There's one list, it's actually the 6th questionnaire in the B Corp assessment that has about, 30 questions that will ask all these questions like, are you indeed in firearms? Are you in pornography? Are you in gambling? Are you in tobacco? Are you in oil and gas? That whole list. And you have to answer all those questions with yes or no. And if you answer one of these questions with yes, they would say like, hi, yeah, great that you're in, in firearms. Can you maybe explain how you think you can make impact with producing firearms? And then you have this conversation. So there is a whole sort of kick out list as well.
Yes, that's correct. Right. So I think in this point, I will say thank you and also encourage all of you who attended to send an email and also ask questions afterwards. And I can then resend them and ask our guests to have an answer for you. And then see you next time, I think. Is there something that Berttu wants to add on, or are we going to say?
Yeah, I'm very thankful and happy that and Henrika, you are on my side and our side. It's wonderful that you can be a part of this webinar, and I hope that we have 10 times more people here in May. So thank you all.
Thank you, and have a great afternoon and week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.